Okay, welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy Magnificent Wellness Wednesday. This is our, oh my gosh, I want to say 25th, 27th IWB Mastermind, International Women in Business Mastermind. I am your host, Vihil Vigil, Women's Empowerment Coach with Therapeutic Empowerment and founder and CEO of the Empowerment Empire, editor-in-chief of Magister Magazine, and now editor-in-chief of Boss Latinas Anthology, which we will totally talk about at the very end, because I have to talk about that every day. It's so fantastic. And this month, we are talking to really phenomenal women. Last month and this month, we are just jam-packed with our masterminds being so diverse, so insightful, and just really fun and getting to know one another. I was just talking to Kristin about how I just moved into my new office space, and so that means I have tons and tons of quiet space to be able to chat with you all and to share. So we've been booking like conversations and masterminds all like month long. So I really am excited to share that all with you. So I would like to introduce the International Women in Business Mastermind guest for today and for this month is celebrated blogger, podcaster, course creator, Kristin Quiroz Bayona. I think your name is so beautiful. You'll have to tell us more about that. She's going to be talking with us about starting her podcast as an introvert and person of color, her goal of amplifying underrepresented voices, which I love because contrary to some belief, I am definitely more of an introvert person, an extroverted introvert, I've been told. And then the 3 steps to starting a successful podcast. I know that this is something that is super, super pertinent and relevant to so many of us who are in the entrepreneurial industry, or we are business owners supporting other business owners. And how can we continue to get our message out there? And one of the ways for us to do that is by sharing via podcast. So I would like to welcome Kristin to the show, and please tell us a little bit more about your background and then how you found yourself to what you are doing today. And then I'll ask you some more questions as we go forward.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share what I know about all things podcasting. It's kind of my world. But just a little background, I am from California, Northern California. First started out in kind of Silicon Valley area. Now I'm closer to the coast and the redwood trees, which I love.
I went to Humboldt State, so I was like,
the trees,
the
they're
North
so
Coast.
Beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I grew up here, and then I graduated from the University of California, Santa Cruz. So again, in the mountains, I just can't get enough of it, but also with a gorgeous view of the Pacific. And so I majored in literature, and I minored in art history. So I kind of have this, I love to read, I enjoy writing, and then sort of there's this visual graphics part. So that led to me starting a career in marketing, which I felt blended both of those skills. And then I kind of did everything under the sun, under the communications umbrella. So PR, marketing, dabbled in graphic design, websites, produced some videos, did photo shoots. Like, I'm a super learner and curious. So I just, boredom is death. So I just try to, grasp on everything communications wise. And then I also love to travel. So I've been talking about starting a travel blog for years. I'm sure my friends got tired of me talking about it. And so I finally launched my travel blog in 2019. And I really loved it. I loved, sharing beautiful photos and providing resources for travel. And then I realized blogging was a little too solitary for me. I am an introvert, but I still like to connect with people in a meaningful way. And so I thought, well, and I also wanted to expand my brand. So I thought, you know what, podcasting just seems like an awesome way to do that. And I was feeling like really called to do it, even though I was super terrified, had never done anything like it. So I really had to push myself to get there. But I'm so glad that I did, because I've met the most amazing people. I love what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
And I started the blog, the podcast in the middle of the summer of 2020, and in the middle of a pandemic, I started a travel blog. I did that because I felt like people still wanted, to connect around travel, especially because we couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's an opportune time for you to have started your travel blog, because as we're all sitting at home thinking about, not going crazy, what a great opportunity to really think about, where do you really want to go next? What are the opportunities that you can take advantage of to get you over? So our goal is to go to Spain. How can I get to Spain in such a way that's going to be super fun, very affordable, have a unique experience? And I had like a whole year to plan it, because I wasn't going anywhere else. And I was saving money because I wasn't going anywhere else. So
exactly. So you can kind of take that trip almost to the next level in terms of like,
right.
Okay, you might have more money, so what can you do? And then, like you said, like meaning behind you're really going to appreciate it when you do go.
Yeah.
So I did a blog about, or a podcast about, how do we look at travel a little bit differently moving forward, and how do we infuse a little more meaning into our trips instead of just going, rethinking it post pandemic.
Yeah.
But I also started it, unfortunately, during the middle of, a social justice movement. And, it was a tough year last year. It continues to be tough. But I think the positive thing that came from that for me was to really as I was starting it, it made me be intentional about like, what do I want to do with this podcast? And it was really important to me to share underrepresented voices within the travel space. If you think about travel hosts, travel writers, I mean, primarily, white men. And so I really made it part of my mission to be intentional about who I ask on the show, because the power of podcasting is really through storytelling, right? And it's how we see ourselves, how we learn about others. And so that's just been a real joy of mine to show just different perspectives that you don't always see. And I want to hear from those people. I want to see myself represented. So it's just been a great way to, just share people's stories in that way. Yeah.
We are completely kindred spirits. Yeah. Like, absolutely. I was so excited that I found you, that I came across you online, because that was one of the big inspirations for me to start the Mastermind, to start the Boss Latinas anthology, to start the Jefas Unidas Latina Entrepreneur Facebook group, to call out the brunches and power luncheons that I do as businesswomen of diversity, because I wasn't seeing all of the women who, represented our cultures in a diverse way at the spaces that I was putting myself in, the entrepreneurial spaces, the business owner spaces, the corporate kind of CEO levels. As I was working in those environments, there was very few petite brown women with long hair in those environments. It was mostly not. It was mostly Caucasian people, mostly men. And everybody was very tall, and I'm 5'2", even when I wear high heels.
Even, so I'm there with you.
Nice. Like little women are going to run the world for sure, because we are so underestimated. So I commend you and I celebrate you and thank you for being so intentional on who you bring onto your podcast. It's something that I feel is so important, that us as women who have a platform to share from, that we share that platform with individuals who share a mission, who share a goal, who are underrepresented in what we often see as mainstream, because there are so many people who look like us that don't have an opportunity to be on a stage, to be on a platform. So I really commend you and thank you and celebrate you for making that decision and saying, yes, you're amazing in what you do, but if you do not fit the demographics of who I want to feature, then you're probably not the best person to come on my show. And it's okay to say that. And I got asked once, there was a Caucasian male who was kind of, I think he was kind of like a Facebook taunter type personality, and was kind of pushing at me about why, he couldn't attend an event that I was doing. And I said, well, you could absolutely attend. Just know that, we don't tell anyone you cannot come unless it's like a women's only event or something very specific. But I said, my sphere, my environment, I want to give power to the people that I come into contact with that have to fight for their power on a daily basis. And they don't have to fight for their power in my space. They have power in my space. And that's okay. It's absolutely okay for us to do that, to give voice to the powerless, to give power to the powerless. I want to know, how has it been going since you started your business? And what do you see for yourself and your business as you continue to grow?
Yeah, so I've continued with the podcast, and I've learned a lot along the way, and it's fun to really embrace this entrepreneurial spirit, which I realized is really just about trying things, making mistakes, and trying again.
It's fun.
It's fun if you can embrace that, that's just how it goes. Like that's just the process, and accept it. Then you'll have so much fun. It's when you're resisting it, and when I tap into my perfectionism, that it's like it goes haywire, right? So I learned to lean away from that perfectionist a lot.
It can be challenging because equally so, I like things to be just right. And I think maybe it's because also I had my daughter later in life, and so I lived most of my life controlling everything. Once you have a child, I was 34, 35 when my daughter was born. You quickly realize you are not in control of everything. No. Now she's 8, and that we're still working through that. But that really, really taught me that you just have to go with the flow. You have to accept the fact that things are not always going to go perfect. And I think the most important thing for us to remember is that doesn't really matter. What matters is what you do after, is, how do you embrace the experience and then pick yourself back up and move on? And what do you learn from those experiences? Yeah. So if you can't roll with it, you might struggle with entrepreneurship in the beginning, and then it gets better.
It does. You get sort of that, just through experience, you get comfortable sitting in it and experiencing it. So I think for me, my journey has evolved to, have my podcast, and then how can I help other people launch their podcasts? So at the end of last year, I created a course that helps. My goal is to help women and women of color amplify their voices through podcasting. I thought, well, your intention behind your podcast is there, so we can bring it over to sort of the business side, and how can we highlight those voices that aren't always highlighted. And if you look at Apple's list of like top rated podcasts, I mean, you got to scroll a while before you see like a person of color in that top list. So I know that first of all, we're not represented. Second of all, we have things to say. Like we have perspectives that are valuable. And my goal and my like joy in life would be to just help other women, like put your voice out there. It's needed. And, if you feel like the space is crowded for you, for us, it's not. There are plenty of opportunities. And besides that, everyone brings something unique. So crowded, uncrowded. I mean, no one's going to be you, right? No one's going to share your mission, your purpose in the same way. So that's how my sort of entrepreneurial journey has evolved. And so I launched my course early this year. It's been a whirlwind. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today, and it's all feeling really great, and like things are aligning and feeling very organic, and so it's been a good journey so far, but not without its like stresses and mindset shifts and all those fun things.
Yeah. Will you post a link to your course?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll share that for sure.
You can either post it in our Zoom chat, or you can post it on the Facebook Live. It's up to you. If you post it in the Zoom chat, then I can post it on our Facebook Live right now too.
Okay, cool.
Because that is, so is your course like a downloadable, I could take myself through the course, or is it a course where someone works with you?
So it's you can do it at any pace you want, but it was intended to be a 30-day like boot camp, because
Nice.
I know entrepreneurs are busy, right? I know we just want to get the thing up and out there, right? And so I created mine in 30 days. So
Awesome.
I gave myself that challenge, and I was like, I can do it. And then I thought, okay, you have the steps to do it, just share it. But but you could take it at your own pace if you want. Take 2 months, take 3 months. I mean, it's all there for you.
Right.
But I give guidance. I give weekly coaching calls once a week.
Awesome.
So you get 4 of those with me. And I think those are really valuable, because sometimes you just want someone to like ask the questions, bounce ideas off of, getting that support from a human is so, so important. So it's a little combination of like, you do the work and you have to show up to do the work on your own. And then you get to like feel supported as well. So that's that.
Awesome.
Let me so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link that will take you to like a free workshop that gets you started along your way, and then you can see if you want to go to for the course. But I think that'll be helpful for people.
You post that on our conversation, because like I said, you and I are totally kindred spirits. That is a lot of the inspiration behind a lot of the work that I like to do. And I end up connecting with women who have such similar approaches to their business, in that, well, I figured out how to do this and I've perfected the way in which that I do it. So let me package that and give it to someone else so that they can learn from my experiences as well. And we just launched the 90-day deep dive yesterday. And so it's like, you're going to get all of the things in your life put together, and you're going to have a plan within 90 days that's going to take you through the next year. Yeah. And so you have to do the work, but then each week you get to have a conversation with me, so I can, make sure that you're accountable to what it is that you said you're doing. I can make sure to ask you questions that I know you should have thought about during the first part of the course.
Right.
And so I love that. It's so important for us to share our experiences. And you had said earlier about, no one can really do it like we do it. It's because we're unique individuals. It's because we have our own unique experiences and life skills and upbringing and stories, that we all bring a unique perspective to the world in which that we are living in, and that we're trying to create. So yes, to the women out there who are watching this, and if you're interested in starting a podcast, why not learn from a woman who has created a podcast and has done so much of the work already for you? Because our goals as women entrepreneurs, I know, is to help level up as we go. Let me give you what I've learned, so that then you can take that and you can build off of it. And then you give, once you've learned, and then the next person can build off of what you and I have collectively both learned. And it's the way we all rise.
Yes.
And I love that you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me, how hard was it to put the course together? Like, what was that like?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It was intense. It's a lot of work. I think I spent a solid month, like every day, just chipping away, just focused on it, and
Yes.
it was an intense month, but it was all worth it. And I kept reminding myself, the next time I create a course, it will be just that much easier.
Exactly.
But it's a lot of work, but to put together all the things that you learned, and to make sure it's going to be helpful to people, and make sure it looks nice, and all the things that you have to think about. But it was a labor of love for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have, like, what are your recommendations for platforms to use for podcasts? Like, what have you found worked best for you that you would recommend?
Yeah, for me, I use Podbean to host my podcast. So for maybe your listeners who don't know, you need a place to host your audio files. So
Right.
you would upload it to something like Podbean. Libsyn's another one. And then that gives you your RSS feed. And that basically means that your content can be shared across the internet. Like, that's the most simplified version of an RSS feed. So you would take that RSS and put it into Apple Podcasts, and put it into Spotify, and all the streaming platforms that you know and love. That's where you would connect them. And so then it gets even further dispersed through the platforms. But where you actually upload your audio files to, I use Podbean. I like them because they have a really simple way of connecting to all of those streaming platforms I mentioned. They pretty much have all of them, like, and so many came online last year, like Amazon. What was another one? There were a few big ones that changed their format specifically for podcasting. So I was like, okay, we're on the right track, because these big companies are taking notice of how popular podcasts are becoming.
Right.
But Podbean makes it easy to connect all of them, which, I mean, for me, anything that makes something easier is like, okay, I'm good. And the uploading's easy. It gives you your own, like, it's like a web page where people can go and see it, see your episodes. But I would recommend having your own website. But if you don't have one, then you can use that one, and it still looks nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said Podbean, Podbean.
Correct.
Okay. So you upload your podcast, you upload your recording to Podbean, and then through Podbean, it helps to disseminate your podcast to all of the podcast
streaming platforms. Correct. You got it.
Right. Learning here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because so what that we have been doing with the International Women in Business Mastermind, I've been holding these conversations for about 2.5, 3 years now. And I have all of these amazing recordings of conversations. And so I started with Anchor, and I uploaded a couple of them to Anchor to kind of play around with it. And I quickly realized I wanted to hire a podcast VA to do that part for me, because
yes,
it's not hard, but it definitely is tedious. So maybe I should check out Podbean, and maybe that would be a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's not hard, and I think you're smart and correct that that is one thing. That is definitely a thing that you could have someone help you with. I think it's good to know what the process is. Like, like, it's great that like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And then you can understand, like, oh, I don't want to do that, or oh, I'm fine, like, doing it myself. But
I have gotten to the point where I realize I have created the Empowerment Empire suite, and nothing else is being added to it for now. And I quickly realized that I am the creator. I love to do the creative elements. I'm the bigger picture thinker person of the organization. So, let's develop the mastermind. Let's develop the power luncheons. Let's do the online 5-day summits. Let's do the magazine. Now the Boss Latinas anthology. And now I've gotten I'm a project management guru. So I've gotten the systems in place to where now I can say, okay, I need someone to fulfill this role so that I can continue on with my mission of being creative and focusing on working one-to-one with clients, such as like the 90-day deep dive that we just launched.
Right.
And it was really hard to get to that point, though, to say, I'm willing to let someone else do this for me, and not control that element. I think I'm thankful to my daughter to helping me get there. But I wanted to ask, do you do all of your own work on the podcast, the design, like a cover, picture, like all of that? Like, and about how much time does it take you per podcast after it's recorded to get it going?
Yeah. So when you were talking about the controlling part,
Yeah.
I can totally relate. And so, yes, currently I am doing everything. But similar to you, I am like loosening the grip and thinking about, the parts that I can, have someone help me with. But it's hard when you're like the creator and it's your baby and it means so much to you.
Yes.
To let go. At the same time, like I was really appreciating you talk about like being a project manager and like understanding that to scale up, right? To scale, I mean, you have to let things go. You just have to. There's no getting around it. So the sooner we all accept that, probably the better. But right now, yes, I'm doing everything. And it takes about, I would say, depending on how fast you are, 4 to 6 hours a week.
Is this for like one podcast?
This is for what? So like think about like 1 hour a day.
Okay.
If you worked on it, if you're not like super like into the editing, it'd probably take you faster.
Is this like per episode?
Yeah, this is, well, if you batch it, it goes a little faster. So, but like if you think about
batching.
So like batch working is like, okay, I'm going to do all my interviews in one day. And then I'm going to plan to do all my editing in one day. So just working on one specific task. And the idea is that you're going to go so much faster because you're not multitasking. You're super hyper focusing. I'm going to write all my show notes in one day or all my copy. I'm going to do all my graphics in one day. So these are things that are in the course of like that help you to like maximize your time and to like get through it. Because I know that not all of us can have help yet. So the people who are going to be doing it themselves, like, let me help you like figure out how to do this. So.
I really like that. So I understand batching photographs because as a former photographer, we would like batch process photos. I really like what you said about how let's batch the process. And because I know as a creative person, if I'm trying to edit this interview and then I'm like, oh, well, let me design a cover for the interview, or let me go write the copy for this one interview. If you really think about it, you're not necessarily, you're working on one episode, but there's like these 5 different pieces that are requiring different parts of your brain and attention span.
Yeah.
I like that. So let's do all of our interviews one day. Let's do all of our editing one day. Let's do all of our copy. And then can you, once you do that on, let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, by Friday, you can just upload everything to your platform?
Exactly. And so like if you had all of your, if you did a month's, several months worth of interviews in 1 or 2 days, then I mean, you have that, you spend a week, right? And then you have that content and it's just being, it's how you have it to put out. So that's the kind of great thing about it. And then, podcasts are really content pillars, right? Like you could take a podcast and then you could do the blog and then you can do the social posts and then you can turn it into, like I upload mine to YouTube. So it's a lot of bang for your buck, if you really use it in a smart way, I think. So yeah, just getting that process in, that was like super helpful. And I know it's helped me in other parts of my business too. I used to be, I think I learned to be a multitasker at my corporate jobs, which I really am trying to unlearn because I felt like it was productive, but I'm realizing like it's not. And when I sit and focus on one thing and I can say, oh, I accomplished that, like I can check that off my list, like I feel better, right? I'm not
Yeah.
like stressed. I feel like, oh, I did this thing and I'm accomplished and I can move about my day. Yeah, I can go on to the next thing. So I found it really helpful.
That is great advice. I know I definitely relate to that because I spent so many years working in a corporate environment where you weren't just working on the exact tasks that you wanted to be working on. People were constantly walking up to your desk being like, oh, hey, can you give me this? Or can you do that? Or can you give me feedback on this or that? And as business owners and entrepreneurs, you can control the way that you establish your schedule. And I want to say that again, we control our schedules. So take that gift and control your schedule. And I really, really appreciate how you said that because I like to call myself a multitasker, but it's not efficient. It's not. You are constantly chipping away at a little bit out of all sorts of things. But if you just like hyper focus and hone in on this one thing and just check it off the list, then I think that you have a greater sense of accomplishment, and that motivates you. When I'm trying to finish this XYZ thing, when I'm working on the magazine, if I go through and I'm doing like page format reviews, if I just bang out the format review all at once, that's like 60 pages, boom, then it's done. If I wait and I like, well, let me look at the background on this one. Is the content right on this page? Is the photographs in the right place for this page? It's like pulling your brain in different directions, and you can easily get delayed. And if you want to be super efficient and still have fun with what you're doing, I really like that. Let's batch our work focused on let's see, what can we say? Like the section of the work or help me,
I mean, task is not a fun word, but but that element of the project, right?
Right, the element
on the different elements. And you nailed it. It's about motivating yourself, because sometimes these things aren't fun, like hopefully most of what you do is, you enjoy it and it's rewarding, but sometimes you just got to get through it. And so why not feel that sense of like accomplishment and feel motivated to do the next thing at the end of the day. So,
right. Check those things off. I tell my clients all the time, okay, we're making the list. We are designing the roadmap, and you're not allowed to take step 10 if you haven't finished step 2.
Right.
It's like, this is a requirement. And so like I slowly train my clients to live their lives in the way of project managing their lives. You have to set the foundation before you lay the carpets, before you decorate the walls. Right. You have to do that. And if you don't like doing that, that's okay. Just do it anyways for at least a couple of weeks and see the difference. See if you experience the fact that, oh, wow, I actually got more accomplished this week because I really focused on taking the step-by-step process that I've set down for myself, or that my coach has set down for me.
Right.
Or that I'm getting in a course by Kristin that I've just recently signed up for. So,
right.
Yeah. So tell me, what are your 3 steps?
Okay.
That we talked about earlier?
Okay, so the 3 steps are, this won't come as a surprise. The first one is to have a clear vision around your podcast. So like in our businesses, like in most things in life, like it's starting with your why. And that's really important for a lot of reasons. One of them being, similar to what we were talking about in terms of being distracted. Like it's so easy to be distracted and things will come up. And if you're focused on like why you're doing this podcast, what you want to get out of it, what are your business goals, if it's to help, bring in new sales or increase your visibility, who your audience is, being really clear about who you're trying to serve and what content that you're creating, how is it going to be helpful to your audience? And then what do you have to offer? Like, what are you passionate about that you can really speak to? What knowledge can you share that'll change people's lives? Yeah. So Those 3 kind of questions will help you like clarify that vision. And I have a workbook that I can share too that will walk people through prompts to get to that like, okay, why am I doing this podcast? So that they can have that North Star, you know, like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. This is going to be the outcome. This is what I'm working towards. And what's cool about the workbook is that can like help, you can pull out your answers, and that will help you create so many other assets to your podcast, like your summary. It can help you come up with content. So things like that. So that's my first thing, is like, be clear on why you're doing it, and like write it down and have a mission statement.
Yes.
And then the second thing is you have to have great content. So you have to have great topic ideas that are really going to help people, that people are going to want to like binge, you know. Podcasters are like, they're all in. It's like podcasting is like either you're all in or you don't know anything about them, right? Like they say the average podcast listener listens to like 7 podcasts. So like the people who really love them. So knowing, like being really clear on like, what are those really great topics that are gonna like grab your ideal listener is super important. So that's just like brainstorming. You know, if you put out blog posts that were super successful, you could turn that into a podcast. You could survey your audience. You could research other podcasts. Like there's tons of ways to come up with like really great topics. And then the third thing is just the tech. I mean, you need the tech, right? So you got your vision, you got your content ideas, and then you need your tech. So I think that there are only 7 things you need. I don't know if that sounds like a lot to people. But you need headphones, you need a microphone. I think most of us have that built into our headphones. You need a recording software like Zoom, which is totally fine. It's what I use. You need an editing software. So for Mac users, you can use GarageBand for free. PC, you can use Audition, or you can outsource it if that's not your thing. And then you need a podcast host, like we talked about, like Podbean would be one. And then you just need graphic design software. So like Canva is like free, and I think everyone, you know, in the business world knows how to use it to create your art. And then you just need licensed music. So you could spend $50 buying music that will contribute to your intro, your outro, and like sets that like mood for your podcast. So
right.
Those are like the 3 things that you need to start. And like if you have those, like you're well on your way to, you know, creating the podcast.
I love great intros to podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Mia Perez, she does a podcast. I think it's called Mia Speaks, and her music and her voiceover on top of her music, I just love it. It's like fun, it's engaging, it gets you ready to listen. And I could definitely relate to what you're saying about you either listen to podcasts or you're like all in, because when you're driving in your car and you got the podcast playing, it's like you're having that one-to-one conversation with the person or the people in the podcast, and you connect quickly, and you really anticipate what the next talk is going to be about. I've never been much of like a talk show watcher, but I love me some podcasts because I am constantly doing something. And if I don't have like, you know, wordless electronic music or classical music, piano playing in the background, I'm listening to a podcast. Like those are my things. And it's so inspiring, you know. I would so much, and there's no like commercials that are going to yell at you to go buy this kind of soap, or whatever is going to, you know, tell you to go buy something else. So it's super productive, I think, also to listen to podcasts. I know it is, that are by women who you think are amazing and inspiring and awesome, because it encourages you to continue to work towards being amazing, inspiring, and awesome.
Yeah.
So
definitely. And I think too, they say that. Oh, sorry. I think they say that, with podcasting, most other mediums, you don't have that person's attention for like 30, 40 minutes like you do a podcast. Like that's a long time to like get someone's, essence, not even just their knowledge, right? To like have that connection with someone.
Yeah.
So I totally understand what you're saying, where it's like it's like an intimate experience in a way. So it's fun to be able to connect with other people who you can see yourselves in and like aspire to or just be inspired by.
Yeah. And I like to listen to other people's voices. Like
I do
that's
too, yeah.
that's super interesting, the way people speak, their intonations, like their accents. Like
Right.
I love it. Like I said, my daughter is 8 and we travel. So where we live to where she now goes to school, it's about a 25-minute drive every day there and back. So she gets to choose the music in the morning on the way to school, but I get to choose when we go home. It's kind of our little deal. And if I'm not listening to NPR, because I love to listen to NPR, then I will plug in my phone and we'll listen to a podcast. And
Nice.
It's so fun to get an 8-year-old's reaction to
I
these
bet.
women's empowerment podcasts.
Oh my gosh.
It's fantastic. Not too long ago, she was in her room playing, and then all of a sudden I turn around and she comes out and she's got one of my dresses on, one of my suit jackets on, and a pair of heels. And I was like, "What are you doing, hon?" She's like, "I'm playing businesswoman." I was like, "Yes, you are."
Yes, girl. You're like, that's my daughter.
It was so cute.
That's adorable.
Oh, it was so funny. I'll have to post the picture too. I still have it. She's all posed like this,
Oh my God.
against the
power
wall.
stance. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's hilarious. It's so funny. It's so funny being a mom. So I want to thank you. I want to learn a little bit more before we let you go. We have about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And tell me what is your latest podcast topic that you've been enjoying online and sharing with the world?
Yeah, so I just released a podcast today, and it was with another Latina. She's living in Switzerland right now, and she wrote this really great piece about identity, the questions of identity that she had to face, being half Mexican, half Irish, American in Switzerland.
Wow, that would be interesting.
So I just I hadn't had a conversation around that yet, and I thought, I really want to talk to her. And I'm so glad I did. And we talk about how beautiful Switzerland is, like where you should go. She's a mom, so she had suggestions for where to take your kids. But yeah, it was a very interesting conversation, and I was happy to share it. So yeah, and then let's see, in terms of a blog, I actually just put out, it's on Monday, and it's called Why Introverts Make Great Podcasters.
Ooh.
So if anyone wants to check that out, my fellow, people who just feel like they're not maybe, you don't have to, you're not someone who loves the spotlight, or you don't have this big personality, like you can't be a podcaster, which I talk about how so many of our strengths actually align with podcasting, and how it's just a great medium to express ourselves and share our voices. So yeah, those are the 2 things I've put out this week that I'm excited to share with everyone.
Can you post the link so I can share it?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I want to say, I think it's because, so scenario and paint a picture for everyone is when you're sitting in, you remember being in school and you're sitting in class and the teacher asks a question. You definitely have the answer and you want to answer the question, but you're not one of the people who shoots your arms straight up and you're like, oh, yep, you just jump right into the conversation. If you're not one of those people, you kind of get bulldozed over participating.
Exactly.
And I was always the one that would super book smart. I love reading. I still love reading. That's why I create books and magazines. But even in high school, I loved reading. And so I always would have the answers, but I wasn't the type of personality that would shoot my hand up or just shout out and jump into participating. And it wasn't because I didn't want to participate. It's just because that just wasn't my personality. And so when Zoom came about and online meetings and podcasts came about, I felt like I had an opportunity to get my voice out there where I wasn't going to be interrupted and I wasn't going to get bulldozed, because I could speak at my own pace and I could connect to others who also shared that sort of style. So I absolutely love the remote meetings and the podcast that I get to listen to and Zoom calls, because it's such a great opportunity for those of us who are more of a quiet nature to still get our voices heard and to have a platform to do so, because we do have opinions and voices, and what we think and what we need, what we want to say matters. And so I feel like these platforms are really encouraging us to step into that light. I'm going to share with, thank you for posting this.
Sure. Yeah, I think I was similar, you know, I'm not necessarily one who's going to raise my hand, but I have a lot of thoughts, and, you know, in school and those type of scenarios. And I think some of it is cultural. You know, I think the maybe American way is to like raise your hand, be the front of the class. And I think for us, you know, as Latinas culturally, like a lot of the times we're hearing messages that are more along the lines of like, and either directly or indirectly of like, stay quiet, like be meek, you know, even deferential, or like keep things private. And, you know, there are reasons for that, you know, very legitimate reasons for like maybe privacy or, you know, and safety kind of thing. But I think that was definitely something that I had to push past. Another layer in addition to the introversion was like, what were the messages that I was being told that I have to sort of like let go? And I think that what I realized is the real meaning behind those messages was basically like, don't own your power, like don't take up your space. And so podcasting has really helped me to do that, to take my space, to own my space in a way that feels comfortable to me. Like you're talking about like the Zoom, you know, platform. And I just want to, you know, encourage other women to like own their space. Like that is your power. You have every right to take that space and do it in a way that's comfortable to you, whatever way that is. And I was joking with my friends just the other day because I was on a few networking calls, and I'm like, man, this online networking was made for introverts because, you know, there's no awkwardness of like, do they want to talk to me? Don't they want to talk to me? Like you're put in a room, you're talking to like max 4 people, right? It's that small, intimate connection we like. And then you have like 15 minutes. So there's no small talk, which like we typically hate, introverts typically hate. Like it's just get into business. And I'm like, I love networking over like online. Like it's just my dream. And you're at home in your like environment. So it's just funny. I totally understand what you're saying by like what mediums have come up that have helped us kind of thrive a little bit more, just kind of being who we are and just kind of leaning into our strengths. So
I love it. That is a great segue, because we have got like 4 minutes left, and I want to remind all of the listeners and everyone who is tuning in is that the inspiration behind Empowerment Empire and why are we doing these shows and why we invited another amazing woman on our show for this week, Ms. Kristin, and I love saying your name, it just kind of rolls off the tongue, Kristin Quiroz Bayona. It's because we have this opportunity to finally like put ourselves out there and to share all of the amazing work that we're doing. And I'm so passionate about that, is giving women a platform to understand that, yes, we are under 5'3", and we absolutely have great personality, and we care, and we have a love and a passion for doing something that we want to share with you. Culturally speaking, we may have been taught, Mija, you need to just be quiet. Or, you know, honey, don't worry about, you know, don't tell people your business. Just go about your day, do your job, and do what you're told. Well, what I think the common theme has been in a lot of the episodes here is that it is okay and it is not disrespectful to yourself into your family. It is not bragging in a bad way to talk about your accomplishments. It is you owning your power. The inspiration behind the Boss Latinas anthology is because I want to have 50 women who are of some sort of Latina background. We have Caribbean Latinas, Afro Latinas, South American Latinas, North American Latinas. We have Latinas in Spain participating. So however you identify as a Latina woman in the entrepreneurial space and in the business ownership space, I want to extend that invitation to participate in our anthology, because I think it's so crucial that we are honest and open about, culturally speaking, what are our challenges, and the fact that we happen to be women who are kind of breaking the mold. We can still be respectful to our culture and to our families, but it's okay to talk about the crappy things that might have happened in your life, the amazing things that happened in your life. Like, this is your opportunity to brag about yourself. I want you to be like, I did that. Like, I was put in this position and that's what I did. And that's okay. And it's inspiring to others. If I was, like 12, 13 years old, and I read a book of 50 extremely diverse Latina women telling me what they did with their lives and how they eventually became to entrepreneurs and successful business owners, then I don't feel that I would have thought I had such limited options. And it's one of the big inspirations for this book. Is I want my daughter, when she's like 13 years old, going, okay, I'm moving into high school and I need to figure out what I want to do with my life. I want to say, Mia, here's a book of 50 amazing women who have created amazing lives out of themselves, or amazing lives for themselves, that are different than grow up, go to school, get a job. They may have done that, and then these are the other things that they have done. They may have still had children and families and taken care of their parents and grandparents and siblings. But you know what? They also did this. And they had an opportunity to brag about it in a great way that inspires another generation. Our goal is to inspire the little Latinas of the world to go and do something amazing, because you can. And we are here to inspire you and to empower you. So don't ever give up on your dreams. For anybody who is listening to this show and who will listen to it in the future, remember that there are opportunities, and there are women such as Kristin and such as myself and a host of us who are putting ourselves out here saying, if you want to learn how to do a podcast, here's the suggestion, and take my course, because I've learned how to do it and I want to share that with you. And here I'm doing a 90-day launch for you to figure out your next plan of action in 90 days. And these are our businesses. This is what we're doing to sustain our lives, to help you better yours. So take advantage of that. Buy from your sisters, support one another in your small businesses, and together we all rise. Thank you so much, Kristin, for your time and your charisma. And this conversation was just fantastic. I feel like I want to give you a high five, sister, and a hug.
Same here. I've so enjoyed meeting with you and connecting with you. And this has been such a wonderful, best hour of my day. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Likewise. Well, happy Wellness Wednesday. Here are two amazing women coming to you live to tell you that you can absolutely conquer your world and achieve your dreams. So tune in next time when we come back to the International Women in Business Mastermind. Connect with me if you're interested in being a guest. Connect with me if you're interested in being in the Boss Latinas anthology. Maybe I'll see you all on July 16th in Southern California in San Diego for our power luncheon. Jump onto my page and you'll be able to see where you can sign up for all of those things. Follow Kristin, sign up for her podcast course, sign up for her podcast, and share the love with all of those around you. Thank you again so much, Kristin, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.